Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to talk mental health with amazing humans. For this conversation, I'm so happy to welcome Catrin Donnelly to this conversation. Welcome, Catrin.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. And this is part of the podathon. This is podcast recording 21, unbelievable. And it's great to have you. And I'm so pleased that Catrin, you said you would participate in this. You're based in the UK. I've been traveling all over the world overnight, which has just been one of the most amazing experiences for me. I've been everywhere, Canada to Australia and all over. And so you're in the UK, and it's great to see you again. Just to give context to how I know you, just so people understand, we were put in touch with each other through a mutual connection, which is just, this is how it works, right? Within a network, somebody sees something we're doing and says, oh, maybe somebody else knows something about this or shares that. And you do, you're very much into this sort of well-being area and the mental health side as well. So I won't steal your thunder. I'll let you introduce yourself and what you do. But it is really genuinely a pleasure to have you with me for this recording. So welcome. Do your introduction as you want to.
Sure. So I'm Catrin. I'm originally from Wales, and I started. I founded a company last year called Align, which was kind of based on workplace wellbeing and offering services around that for kind of SME companies. And then kind of end of last year, did a bit of a reflection and evaluation of what I was doing, and as we've all heard it, kind of the past year kind of pivoted as to what I felt was actually the better route for me. And so the company's taken a bit of a change now. We're kind of in the process of developing an app based on mental well-being to help individuals kind of tailor their habits and their current lifestyle choices to build and sustain better well-being. So in a bit of a building phase and a bit of a kind of ramping up phase. So it's quite exciting so far.
Exciting stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit later, if that's all right. We'll go into sort of some of that, just to give thoughts around your plans, what you want to do with that, how you want that to sort of go out, if you know how that looks at the moment, or when it might be coming out. You determine all of that. The big conversation within these podcasts, these recordings, is around mental health, of course, and what I'm really interested in, what the listeners are tuning in for, is to hear real stories, and I want you to interpret the question of your journey with mental health. So let us know, tell us all about it, take as long as you need, and just chat about it now.
So I think kind of for me, it's quite distinctive. Kind of that period in time is about I think a year and a half ago, where I, for the first time, really began to feel a bit more up and down, and there was a very strong wave of emotions around during that time that was completely kind of foreign to me. And I think on reflection, it was obvious what was going on. But kind of during that time, I wasn't quite seeing it as I was kind of living through it. And I think what was happening was I wasn't quite where I wanted to be in my life. I didn't feel as if I was living my true purpose. And I feel there was a lack of freedom that I had with, being tied to work and something I wasn't specifically interested in wanting to do. I was living alone, which kind of previously I'd always loved living on my own, but I think for the first time I started not enjoying it, and was kind of craving more of wanting to be around people who I knew and people who I loved, and I think it just felt as if I couldn't decide or go down a route of my own choices. And I think that just built up over a period of months, where all of a sudden I just needed to make a decision to kind of get out of it. And that, that kind of choice was to leave my work, my job, and really follow a path of, I guess, just curiosity and pursuing something that I'd always wanted. I always wanted to do my own thing eventually, but and I think intrinsically I knew that I was that type of person. And I just wanted that time to explore, and I've actually had that, which has been great. But I think it's kind of a consequence of that time of going through, those kind of periods of lowness, there's been kind of a lingering, I would say, feeling that's kind of stayed with me since then. And I think one of the key things I took away was I wasn't sure if I could attain kind of happiness over a long period of time. I thought I would only be able to have it for kind of, shorter periods of time. I just couldn't get my head around the fact that, oh, I can't be happy now for, weeks on end. There's always going to be a moment where, I get emotional, or there's always going to be a moment where I kind of maybe don't feel great. I think that started to get better, I think, because I've been able to have more of that freedom. That kind of idea has kind of really almost disappeared, but sometimes I do question. But I think that's also kind of human nature, because naturally we're going to go through ups and downs anyway. But I think having felt that way, that kind of year and a half ago, it just, because it was so strong, and because never felt like that before, but I've never had to go through dips, or never felt kind of any intense kind of feelings of, I don't know, kind of a bit of darkness, really. Never had that. And so I think because it was so new, it's just stayed with me a bit, and I think I've suppressed it.
Right.
And so with that suppressed, whenever maybe it comes up or it crops up, it's something that I haven't maybe quite dealt with, but I also don't feel that I necessarily need to deal with, because it is in the past, and it's only kind of, today that we have, and to look forward. So it was definitely kind of an eye-opening kind of occurrence of, events and feelings that happened over time, that really, I don't know, kind of feel a bit bizarre about, really. And
why do you feel bizarre? Why do you say that?
I don't know. I feel like it wasn't me, because I felt, if I look back, I've always been relatively a positive person, and even though I'm quite reserved and kind of not very out there, but I've always been quite good-minded, and quite strong-minded as well, and always been carrying on through life, and kind of taking the extra step, because I feel like I should do, and I can. And so I think when I look back, I don't see kind of me. I see just someone who maybe was just struggling a bit with the current kind of life choices. So yeah, I guess that's the best way I could explain it, really. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And it's your perspective, it's your, it's what you've lived through, so you explain it in your words, and that's the most important thing, that you have this ability to recognize it. Did you seek any help? Did you get any help to sort of come through, or did you just sort of do sort of self-care things, or how did you?
Because I kind of knew what the problem was, which really the main cause was kind of the work that I was doing, because work is the main focus of your life, really, isn't it? It's the thing that you do most of the time, every day of the week, minus the weekends, and so that was really kind of the centerpiece. And because I knew that, I feel it was kind of waiting. It was just time until that was kind of that decision to leave was done, and then I actually left. It was that time just to use my own kind of tools, and kind of my own knowledge of looking after myself, which I've been quite lucky to kind of attain over the last few years, because I've naturally been interested in it. And just kind of power through it, really, I guess, is the best way to describe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, power through is a good way. If you can, the thing is about finding the way to power through it, and to have that energy to be able to take that, because at the point that you said you were struggling, there was, you mentioned the word feeling low, and finding energy when you're feeling so low can be really quite hard. And was there any other sort of thoughts that were going on, or feelings around those those sort of, when you were feeling those low moments? Anything else?
I think they kind of popped up every now and again. They weren't too not too frequent, but when they did, it is difficult to get out of it. And I think my coping mechanism was to just kind of go to sleep and to sleep on it, and then every day knowing that you'd get out of it ever so slightly, until it became a lot easier to to kind of see what's around you and be like, okay, cool, right, I'm kind of out of it now. I feel like I can function a bit better, and kind of I can think a bit clearer. And yeah, it was just I don't know, I felt those times when I think really more than anything, and as a female as well, it was just more of an emotional kind of overwhelming kind of response to it, and just feeling, I guess, kind of low, and kind of being like, well, if this is how I'm feeling, then what am I kind of here for? What am I kind of what's the point? And maybe going into more of those kind of questions, just to really kind of think about if I'm at this point now, what else is there to kind of move forwards with in life and maybe look forwards to, and which I think was just as a consequence of feeling like that, was just kind of these natural questions that just cropped up. And yeah, it was a bit of a slow mover, I guess, just from those situations, but I did kind of progress, and kept kind of going. And I think in the back of my mind, I was always like, it's only temporary, and these things, I know the cause, I know what's happening. I just have to work through it, because that was the nature of my situation.
And did you talk to anybody? Was there anybody close to you that you could confide in how you were feeling? Or
I mean, my close family and kind of friends knew I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing, and I think they could see that there was like a struggle there, and it was just kind of I think it was obvious at certain times. So everyone's been I've always got a supportive group around me, so that's been great.
Big important part, that's the thing. And I hope you're okay with the questions I'm asking, because it's the thing is, listeners, people who are listening to this might be going through those experiences, and I ask people to talk a little bit about the feelings when they were in those moments, because then people might start to recognize some of those signs, behaviors, things that are going on. But having support around you is critical as well, to get yourself out, so people are aware of challenges or things that might be going on. So it is really important. I want to talk about the evolution then from where you were to where you're going, and what's going on with Align, and when you launched that. So what was your thought around that at the beginning? Let's sort of break it down into that part first. Launching a company, it's not easy, right? It's as you know, and as I know, it takes a lot of energy and resource to do that. How did you find that?
I think, like, looking back at the start, I mean, honestly, I actually kind of just went into it without thinking too much about it,
right?
Which I think was actually a good thing, because I knew
jump in.
Jump in, don't think about anything else. I knew it was, I wanted to be within that realm of well-being. I knew that for a fact. And then kind of, it was at that point, I think, where mental health, or maybe kind of a year before that, mental health was really becoming more of a topic of conversation. I think I really, I don't know, I felt quite connected to that. And then I guess after my own experience bringing that in, I just wanted to do something about it, because, especially in the workplaces, and, there's so many stories out there of people who have, that has been neglected in the workplace, because, as companies have grown, and how companies have developed over the years, it's just not been a thing that has been linked to business, is looking after, your employees. And, there still is a massive gap there right now, and I wanted to tackle it. So I kind of just dove into, exploring how can I help with that, what kind of, how can I be involved, and the steps of kind of launching something just kind of, I guess, came to me, and I just ran with it. And it's been an experience for sure, because I guess when I started, lockdown had occurred, and so I started completely remotely, and kind of still am completely remote. So I've never gotten that chance to actually really have that interaction with people, which was one of the things that I really wanted to do. yeah, I guess it just stemmed from there. And then I guess towards the end of the year, kind of things changed a bit, just based on, I guess, the things that I'd collected, the experiences that I had had. And it just felt like there was, that move was the right move to make, to pretend to transition from being more of a service-based company to actually, product-based one. And I also don't want to leave the workplace well-being behind. I'm still very much linked to that. But I feel for right now, that's what I'm kind of meant to do. So yeah, I'm on that track now.
That's good. I encourage it. I think it's great. There is a lot of challenges to the the workplace, as you said, and we see that in the work that I do through my company as well. And there's a lot of businesses out there that need support, need help, need something. And you're right, you're in the right place, and coming with that recognition of an experience that was in the workplace, you can come with some critical understanding of what they need to change or what might need to be evolved. And then the evolution to this app. So how did that happen? What was the thought behind it? I know you said about pivoting and changing some thoughts, or your plans, but what was the driver?
I guess the driver was that it'd come to a point where the progress that I had made, and the place I'd wanted to be, I hadn't quite reached it. And I think there was a lot of blocks kind of that came with that. But I also think I was getting in my own way, because I think I had leapt quite far, which is not a bad thing. And I had succeeded, and there was stuff that I'd done which I would, kind of never thought that I would have done. But to have the business that is kind of sustainable and that is actually most importantly having an impact, I wasn't quite reaching that level. And I just took some time to think about the problem of what is kind of what is that mental well-being problem. And I joined the leadership team of a non-profit called Mad Millennials, who are also doing so they're supporting the mental health of millennials. And kind of through the work I've done with them, and then the work I did in the workplace, I don't know, I feel something just came together in the middle, where I thought there was a lack of a solution in the current market for people who are just starting to experience kind of maybe worry and anxiety, or kind of going, kind of starting to feel those dips. I feel when you enter that, I guess, place in your life, and when you have to begin to reach out and find how do you begin to kind of help yourself, I think that is a very confusing and stressful and kind of unguided area at the moment, in terms of kind of the tech that's out there, or the resources that are out there. Because I spoke to a few people who had gone through it, and they were kind of saying the same thing. And I thought that what if there is a tool out there that you can tell it, what does your current lifestyle look like at the moment, and based on those kind of the choices that you have or have made, you're given kind of a tailored plan of what to follow, with some kind of context and information and tips or whatever, and that you can follow that specific thing, so exactly where in your life that could be contributing to maybe poor mental well-being. And so it's building the well-being side of things as a first line kind of basis. So that's, I guess, is the kind of the core concept of the app. Because I thought there was, I believe I have 7 principles that cover kind of like food, sleeping, environment, relationships, etc. Where I think that if you have those ticked off, those areas in your life, if they're good and solid, I think everyone can have good mental well-being from that. I think that, for me, I thought, that's the place I think people should start. So that's where I've kind of started.
It sounds very interesting, and you're definitely right. There are, the balance has to be found across many different areas. You can't just sort of go, oh yeah, I go for a run every day,
Yeah.
but then I go and eat at McDonald's or fast food, and it has to have a balance, doesn't it, to
Yeah.
level everything out. It's fascinating. I'm intrigued by it. I really am, and I think it sounds really useful, sort of as an application to help people through those because I think one of the challenges and correct me if I'm wrong, or give your perspective, is that we're not proactive in our approach to managing our mental health often. We only do things when we react to something. So I feel low, so I'll go
Absolutely.
and do this. Well, I don't really want to feel low, so why don't I try to avoid feeling low or worried or whatever it is in the first instance? Do you sort of see that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is where the idea comes in as well, is to I don't want people to begin to feel a certain way, and then it goes to that, maybe not the extreme, but it goes to the point where it's a lot more difficult to come back from, and you eventually you have to potentially I don't know, use medication, or you have to seek further help, deeper help. And I think a lot of people can avoid going to that, reaching that place.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to kind of stop it, is if we can maintain good, solid mental well-being, and if we're educated in that, because I think it's the education piece, I think, that it's kind of lacking, on how certain things impact you mentally, that we can really cut out a lot of the things that happen if we are good in the practices that we implement, and that we have that knowledge. I think it's building it, and it's sustaining it, isn't it? So
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that the thing is to get it into people's hands sooner rather than later, if that makes sense, when it comes to people's mental health. And it really is that point, isn't it, of the challenge, and it will always be there, is people going, well, I don't have a problem, so I don't need to worry about it, or and it's that investment in your future that people struggle with. I do, and I feel that way. I remember when I used to travel all over the world, I didn't care about what it was doing to my body, because I didn't really think about it that way until I broke, and then I was like, oh, maybe that did have an impact. And now I tell people this reality of that world, and it's almost a little bit too late for some, because people have done it for years, and we've continued to do it. And I've got the portly little belly because I drank too much when I used to travel and eat good food all the time. And good food as in unhealthy food, of course, because it tends to be very rich, but and it was never something that I really thought about. So maybe there is an opportunity, and with the marketing around that in a positive sort of proactively managing mental well-being, or the whole well-being as an individual. I think it sounds really interesting. So
yeah, definitely.
what's,
Thank you.
what's your target for it in terms of dates and things? Have you got any thoughts when you want to get it?
So I'm at the stage where I'm just kind of really trying to gauge fit and demand. I actually do want to get a group of users together to actually go through it. I've had a few individual people go through it, but I'm looking to kind of get a bigger group. And really, kind of ideally, I do want to track, because if I'm doing this for the impact side of things, I want to make sure that it does have a difference, it does make a difference. So I'm looking to kind of track any improvements that it could potentially have on someone. So I guess that's the next step for me.
All right, cool. Well, I look forward to seeing and hearing all about it, and keep us posted as well, because it sounds great, and I really genuinely hope and wish you all the best with that as well, and everything else. We are coming to the end of this now, believe it or not. This conversation just like it
flew by.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's been like that for the whole 20 before this as well. It's like, oh, there's so much more to say. Listen, Catrin, I'm so pleased that you said you would come on this. Thank you so much for participating and telling your story and giving some insights into your world. I genuinely do say thank you for that. Any final thoughts, comments you want to share, wisdom words, whatever you like?
I don't think I've got any wisdom, but no, thank you for inviting me, and I think what you've done is amazing, and you're almost there, but you've done so well, and I just want to thank that. And I just keep on going, I guess, as we are right now, and things are going to start to change soon, so we can all look forward to that.
And that's on record that you said that, so let's hope it happens. Let's hope it happens.
No.
It'll come back, it'll be in the press, somebody will No, I genuinely think it will too, and let's keep our fingers crossed that it really does.
Yeah.
Thank you again. As I always say at the end of these, for anybody that is listening, if you are struggling, if you do have some worries, concerns, or anything, and you've just been bottling things up and you need a safe space to talk, know that there are organizations out there today that will listen and provide you with that safe space to do that. Samaritans exist today for exactly that purpose. 116 123 to call. It's a free call. And yeah, please do know you're not alone. And I think that's sort of the recurring message of this conversation of mental health is we're all going through a journey. Some days we're doing well, some days we're struggling, and let's talk about those days and celebrate the highs and support the lows. That's the most important. But that's it, we're done. Thank you so much, Catrin, for your time this morning. It is this
Thank
morning,
you.
not
Yeah,
last
is it?
night. Yeah, it's not last
No
night
idea.
still. Yeah, brilliant. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.